Right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Hello, I'm Tina Mountain and I'm Chairman of the Epsom and Ewell Local Committee. And here we are, 3 o'clock on the 7th of December 2020, starting the meeting. I'm afraid I've got an awful lot to read out before we can actually start the formal meeting. So please bear with me, but it's because we're doing everything digitally rather than in person. So I welcome you to the Epsom and Ewell Committee meeting. And in line with government guidance, this meeting will not be held in public for social distancing reasons, but we're allowed to hold the meeting remotely, and this meeting is available for public viewing via the County Council's website webcasting system. I would like to remind all participants that you have had rules around how this meeting will be run, and please abide by those. Please remember to turn off your camera and mute your microphone unless you are speaking. It will be more difficult to manage digitally than in person. I hope that internet connections hold up. In the case that my internet connection runs out, the Vice Chairman, Jan Mason, will take over until I can reconnect. Before we start, I want to introduce the officers and members of the committee on this meeting. First of all, we have Greg Lohman, who is carrying out all the webcasting from County Hall, and I understand County Hall is very cold whilst we're sitting here in the warmth. We have Nicola Morris, who's our Partnership Committee Officer, Nikki Thornton-Breyer, Partnership Committee Officer, Rowena Zelli, Support Officer, and all of these people will be helping to see that this meeting runs as smoothly as possible. When we have specific items, we will introduce Stephen Clavey, who's there for the parking review, and Nick Healy, who will be looking into the highways budget. As far as the committee is concerned, I've introduced myself as chairman. Mrs. Jan Mason is vice chairman, Mr. John Beckett, Mr. Eva Kinkton, and Mrs. Bernie Muir. Could you please all confirm that you are present?
Yes.
Yes.
Present.
Present.
Thank you very much. Put your hand up. Right. From the council, we have Councillor Steve Bridger, Councillor Nigel Collin, Councillor Neil Dallin, Councillor Debbie Monksfield, and we have had apologies from Councillor Coley, and we have Councillor Phil Neal here as substitute. Are you all present, please?
Present, thank you.
Present.
Present.
Lovely, thank you. I hope that was all of you.
I don't think Councillor Neil's here at the moment, unless I've missed him.
Are you here, Councillor Neil? No, never mind. Hopefully you'll join us a little later on. Right, oh, that's it, good. In terms of voting on items at this meeting, at the end of the discussion on each item, I will ask committee members if they are in support of the recommendations. I will assume members are in support of the recommendations unless you indicate otherwise or have indicated on the chat functions that you are not in support of the recommendation, and there will be plenty of time for you to do this. If a more formal vote is required, I or the Partnership Committee Officer will read out your names. You will be asked to indicate verbally for or against the recommendation. I advise all members to use the chat box to indicate at any point if you wish to speak, or use the raise your hand button. It will be noted by the chairman and or committee manager that you wish to speak. It is a legal requirement that the decision making is able to be viewed live by members of the public. So if at any point the webcast fails, the meeting will have to adjourn until such times as the connection can be re-established. Good. Now, we've done item 1. We've accepted apologies for Councillor Coley, and we hope very much that Councillor Phil Neal will join us shortly. Could I ask, please, if on all the items that we have listed today, there are any declarations of interest? I've heard nothing, so I will assume that there is nothing. Okay. Right. Point 3, Chairman's business. I don't have an awful lot to report, to be honest, because our meeting was right back in October. Unfortunately, the November meeting was postponed until next week, so it's too late for this meeting. We have discussed active travel at the chairman's meeting, and Epsom has obviously had the safer walkway at the Spread Eagle Junction in the High Street. But I won't go into that because Nick Healy has that all in his paperwork. I would just like to mention a little disappointment that I have, and that is St. Joseph's School. An awful lot of time was taken both by the committee and by councillors in order to try and sort out this problem. And one of the main problems that we had to look at was that the gate into the school from the car park was locked, which was locked because of safety reasons. I now understand that this gate has been opened, and my disappointment is simply that an awful lot of time and effort was spent by councillors trying to sort out this problem. I hope that this has been reported to the schools department at the county to just ensure that that school is safe, and then that matter will be finalised. So I go on to point 4, written public questions and statements. There were 4 questions from Councillor Dooley Morris, and I asked if you have any supplementary questions relating to those questions. Is she not here?
Thank you, Chairman. Can you hear me?
I can now, thank you.
I have a supplementary, I think it was question 2, but it's not in front of me. So question 1 was about the taxi rank. I don't have a supplementary on that. Question 2 was, I think, about the loss of the 30-minute bays in Upper High Street. And my supplementary here is that I wondered whether the committee realised just what a high percentage of the overall 30-minute bays they have taken away. It is between 30 and 40%. That's really quite a lot at the moment, given the small shops are trying to survive and the ability for people to park for 30 minutes to use them, when of course they can open, is now very much limited. I understand why it's been done, but it's been done very quickly and perhaps without that thought. So I wondered whether the chairman or the county councillor for that area had a comment on that. Thank you.
Well, I am actually the county councillor for that area, and in fact all this work was carried out some time ago. I was very, very unhappy about losing any bays, and I fought as hard as I possibly could. I also put forward the argument that we should be able to use the taxi rank for parking for short periods of time, but it was absolutely categorically stated that it was too dangerous, it's too close to the junction. So personally, I don't think we should have had to put the safety measures in for Lidl when we are not considering the businesses that are in Upper High Street. It seems to me that too much attention was paid to that. But because it was passed by planning, by Epsom Council, then the county has no option. We have to make it safe for people accessing the new Lidl and the new flats that will, of course, be above the Lidl. So I'm afraid our hands were tied. But I do assure you, and it's in a way a shame that you didn't make contact with me before this meeting, because I had gone through this very, very thoroughly with highways. And this was the response we ended with. So I'm sorry, it isn't good news, and it is very disappointing. Right, I don't think these are up for discussion, are they, Nicola? We don't have discussions on public questions.
No, not generally.
No. Okay, thank you. So I hope, Councillor Morris, that has answered your question.
Not really. You asked me if I had supplementaries on all my questions.
Yeah, carry on.
I can't remember what the 4th one was, but the 3rd one
was the installation of yellow lines. Oh no, I've got 4 here, but in fact there's only 3.
It's 3.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was only 3, I think.
Yes.
I don't have a supplementary on the third question, except I'd like to thank Mr. Clavey for his efforts. The work is all now complete. Thank you.
Good. Really good. Thank you. Right. The section 5 is petitions, and I understand we have none. Section 6 is to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 5th of October. Would you all agree that this is a correct record? Has anybody disagreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. The 7th, we're zooming through this lot. The 7th is member question time, and there are no questions. So 8, I have to introduce Stephen Clavey, because it is the Epsom and Ewell Parking Review, phase 13. So are you here, Stephen?
I'm here. Good afternoon, Chairman.
Hello.
I'll see you all again. Well, as the title suggests, it's the Epsom and Ewell Parking Review, phase 13. We've obviously collected requests from the previous review, which there is still a few issues with trying to get some of the yellow lines implemented, but that's another story. So hopefully this is just to approve the recommendations that are made in Annex 1 so that we can go ahead with advertising in the new year.
Lovely. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask Stephen before? Oh, Jan, you would like to ask a question. And Councillor Kington.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Can, thank you. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
All right. Okay. I did put that on as well, I thought, but never mind. Never mind. Anyway, no, I'm just concerned that there has been an issue. Stephen, is it too late to put through a very last minute application, because there's been an issue in Gibraltar Crescent which has been ongoing, and I thought it was to deal with Surrey, so I've been dealing with it, and then find out that the land is owned by the council, so it's not exactly my responsibility. It's been dealt with, and I've got a feeling that the council may come in with an urgent double line or no, a restricted time. So I'm just the question is, if somebody like Ian Dyer came in with a very late minute thing, could it be done? Because it's absolutely causing a tremendous amount. The whole verge is churned up. It's a bit of a nightmare. So I just wondered, is there any chance if Ian Dyer from the borough could put something in quite late now in the day? Thank you.
The only thing I would say is that obviously this year we've got a very, very tight budget. Obviously, we agreed to pay for the verge parking out of this year's surplus, which has left us with not as much as we'd normally have for a review. I think in total we're looking at about 25k, I think, and we're pretty much at the limit of what we can do based on the amount of money that we have. So I'm a bit loath to start adding things in. I don't mind making little amendments to bits and bobs here and there, but if we have to adding bits in, then obviously the cost of the final implementation is going to increase. And it really does depend what it is.
Yes, it's in Gibraltar Crescent where there's an island, and the dust carts can't get round because cars are parked in the road, and it's just a little island in a bigger road, as you know, Gibraltar Crescent, and at the moment the whole verge is being destroyed completely, and we're just wondering if we have a stoppage, say 6 in the morning till 9 when the dust cart does its day on a Friday, for instance. Could that be put in? In other words, we only want it stopped for the time of the delivery of the dustbins, because at the moment the dust can't get round at all.
Yeah, I mean, the only issue with putting in limited restrictions like that is that obviously they require upright signing as well. And that's when things start to get more expensive. if we were just talking about double yellow lines, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
then you're literally paying by the metre of a double yellow line, which is something like 10 pence a metre.
All right.
When you start adding signs in, you're talking maybe £250 per unit. And if you've got to put in half a dozen, that's £1,500 before you start.
Very short piece of little island, but yeah. So really, would it be wise for Ian to contact you, Stephen, to discuss this, to see if it's possible or not?
I think it would really be for the committee to decide whether they think we've got enough finances to stretch that far. I mean, I don't think we have, and the parking team hasn't got anything more to offer, unless the councillor can come up with any funding themselves.
I've blown mine.
Yeah, I think we're between a bit of a rock and a hard place at the moment.
Yes.
I think we are putting Stephen in a little bit of a difficult position, Jan. So
I agree. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
The only thing you could do is ask if perhaps you could use some of your.
I've blown it all, Tina. I've done Christmas lights this year and help for the young people. My money went about a month ago, so got nothing left at all. But we would have to wait for next year. But if so be it, if that's the case, you know.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, who else? Eva, you wanted to have, you had a question.
Chairman, I have sent these to Stephen Clavey, so he knows they're coming, and I've sent copies to Nicola Morris for the minutes, should any of them be agreed, so in the sense that people know what it is. The first three I'm commenting are on the actual list itself. At drawing 4 and 5, there is a suggestion in Cunliffe Road, and I believe it was to enable the buses to get through, that there should be a parking restriction for an hour in the morning and around the evening. I hadn't realised that was what was being proposed. Cunliffe Road is a fairly narrow residential place. There's nowhere for those cars to go, and it'll cause chaos if those residents have to suddenly find somewhere to park their cars in the morning or in the afternoon. When I heard that it was about the buses getting through, I did go down there and I looked at it, and I noticed that the residents themselves seem to have their own sort of system, with some parts on one side and others parts on the other. But all I'm saying is, whilst I appreciate that the buses need to get through, the current proposal, I just don't think would stand a chance of being supported by the local residents, telling them in a place where there are not many places to park the car, they've got to get it off twice a day. So I don't know what the answer to that is, whether in fact, you know, Stephen Clavey would consider revising the scheme, or if he insists on it going through, I don't think you'll get the answer he wants. So that's the first one. The second one is that I fully support drawing 14, where they're going to be removing the bays and making it much simpler to get across if people are in wheelchairs and prams. My only suggestion was, could he add that one of the fewer bays that are there is just made for cyclists, motorcyclists, because there is a company there that runs a school for cyclists who are training. So could one of the items be added to that, just to make one of the bays cyclist? And then the final one, I'm not saying take it out, it's drawing 8 Timbercroft. I'm not so sure that the proposals there again would be welcome, but I'm happy. I want to make that point, but I'm happy for it to go ahead. But the two important ones in my first section are Cunliffe Road and the motorcycle bay in the Kingston Road shopping parade.
Okay, Stephen?
Yeah, I'm just having a think. Yeah, the Cunliffe Road one is a bit difficult, because if we don't want to upset the residents, for an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon, we're not left with many options that we can provide if we don't want them to have to be running around moving their cars around. So you know, obviously one option is not to go ahead with the proposal at all and leave the status quo as it is, and see whether it works. I mean, from what you're saying, it sounds as though really there's not going to be too much of an issue getting buses through.
But sorry, the proposal I was going, if you're going to put yellow lines, there is no yellow lines at all. So no. Put down yellow lines where they don't seem to park on one side of the road, and it changes as you go up the road. If you look there, there's a pattern of parking and no parking, and my suggestion would be that the yellow lines go where they do not park now, and that's probably what gets filled in when the parents come, because the residents don't park there, the residents do. So have a system of all day no parking on various parts, but it actually changes in the road itself.
Okay, so we'd be talking effectively a chicane effect.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it may be something that we probably have to discuss in detail to just decide what is the best place to have the yellow lines.
Yes.
Obviously, site visits are a bit tricky at the moment, so I'd probably be going a lot on your recommendations if you're happy to have a discussion and go by your recommendation.
No pressure there then. Okay.
No. You know how I feel now.
Yeah, I think that's, I could actually say that to residents that's what I would suggest. If they come back and say, no way, Jose, then the committee have to make a decision on whether we enforce it. But so if the committee could agree for us to do that separate arrangement, that would be great.
Okay.
And the other one is the cycle parking.
Yeah, sorry, is it cycle or motorcycle?
Motorcycle.
Yeah, we had a similar request from Councillor Morris regarding one of the bays in the bottom of Upper High Street, and we're sort of a bit, we're not really keen on the idea of just making bays motorcycle bays, because obviously it prevents other drivers from parking there.
Tell me straight, if you don't want me to push it, I won't. But I suspect, all I'm saying is there is a business there and there are often motorcycles because people go there for their training. What they were doing, they were actually parking, and they shouldn't have done, on the double yellow lines, and until I walked in there and told them not to. So there is a need, but you tell me no, and I won't pursue it. You tell me yes, and I'll be pleased.
It's a discussion I've had with my manager, and we're not really keen on pursuing it, if I'm totally honest.
Okay, all right, that's a no. I hear what you say, so I won't pursue that one. Right, the other ones, Chairman, are ones that aren't there because they weren't put in by Steve, although we had, sorry, Mr. Clavey, though we had agreed them before, and I would like to put them in, please, because they were agreed and they came up. And the first one was in Stoney Park Road, where there was a request from the borough councillor and the residents. There's a sharp bend there, and the double yellow line stops at 25, and it does mean people coming around the sharp bend have to move out into the other side of the road, and they're not easily seen. And the request was to continue that double yellow line from number 25 up to number 31, stopping at 33. And as I say, that was on the original list, and I was surprised it didn't reach this stage. And
that was a misunderstanding on my behalf. I clearly didn't read the request properly, so.
This isn't a blame game here.
No, it's all right. I didn't include it because I thought it had already been done. I thought it was already there.
Okay, and the second one was some double yellow lines at Amberley Gardens. They were actually in phase 12 and got missed. I put them into straight at 13 and they still didn't come up. But Mr. Steve Clavey says he thinks, we need a site visit just to make sure that there have been, both those two were requests that were on there. So if the committee agrees, can the Stoney Park Road one be now added, and can the Amberley Gardens, Thornton Gardens be added, subject to a site visit, just in case at some point somewhere somebody put bits of the extra yellow on that neither of us know about.
Okay, we'll put that at the end. Thank you.
You.
Does anybody else have questions of ideas? I don't want to. Stephen, we did talk about Woodcote Park Road. It's still in the notes as being yellow lines, whereas we agreed that it was to be residents only from 9 till 6.
Right.
Okay. And also, just the,
I thought I did change that. Did I not forward it on to Nicola?
I haven't got it, but that doesn't mean to say that you didn't do it. But if you did it, that's fine. I just clarified it. I've probably got the old papers here. And did you make the changes then when you were talking about Chartwell Place and Treadwell Road? Because it wasn't Treadwell Road, was it?
Yes, I did. That was just a word on the statement of reasons, wasn't it?
Yes, that's it. So can I accept that those two have been either changed or?
I'm just going. Could you remind me of the drawing number? Have you got the drawing numbers at all?
I've got the drawing numbers. Sorry.
Oh, I'm just flicking through at the moment.
Go back and find them though. I find these drawings really quite difficult, and I go more by the spec Woodcote.
I think Woodcote Park Road is drawings 40 and 41. In the statement of reasons, it says introduce a residence permit scheme.
Yeah, I have updated the drawings accordingly as well, so I'm not sure whether you got those.
I probably have, but thank you. At least we've clarified it. That's important.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else have anything to ask? Any
I think Neil Dallin had a question.
Neil?
Oh no.
Thank you. Yeah, I did. I returned. A couple of quick things on drawing 29, which is Hazen Way. The reason is to allow pedestrians better access. Can I suggest it's just as important, if not more important, to allow cars to go around the corner safely, or cars and lorries to go around the corner safely there? So the car safety issue there as well.
Right.
Councillor Muir, do you have any comments on that one?
Actually, I was going to make the same point, just in case, and I wanted to check if it was a local resident that asked for that.
You have to bear with me a moment. I'll have to have a look at my requests. Everything's gone a bit slow at the moment. Bear with me. I might have to get back to you on that one, because I have to look at about 2 or 3 different spreadsheets, because they all come in from different areas. So I might have to get back to you on that one, if that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I endorse what Nick said.
So we're quite happy with that, even though we don't know where it came from.
Yeah, I just wanted to establish that, just so I know. Yeah, that's okay. That's it.
Number 30, the High Street, to make, this is yours, Tina, to make the loading bay permanent. It looks on the diagram very close to the junction, the island in the road with West Street. Is it going to impede the flow of traffic if that's made a permanent loading?
The bay should already exist, just not have a TRO against it at the moment. Because when I was asked to do this on behalf of, I think it was Richard Bolton came through to me. They asked us to make it legal. When they put in the taxi ranks, there was a space at the end that they wanted to make into a loading bay, which I believe they've already done. So it's just a case of us making it actually legally enforceable. So it should be there already.
Okay, and it's not going to stop the flow of the traffic?
No, unfortunately, the mapping doesn't get updated by Ordnance Survey as often as they do roadworks. So the mapping may look a bit not quite the same as it should be.
Happy to take your word for that one. And the last one is the Jan Mason was suggesting that she wanted something done in Gibraltar Crescent. Would a double yellow line there suffice, is my thought, if it only costs a few pence to put the double yellow line in? That's up to Jan, but that may be a solution.
Put it this way, a double yellow line is a lot cheaper to implement.
Yeah.
It is 10p a metre roughly for a yellow line. Obviously, you have to double that up for the double yellow, but it's going to be a matter of pounds as opposed to potentially thousands.
Could I? Am I muted or not? I was only going to say, could I take it back?
Yep.
Am I on or off?
You are on, Jan. Yes.
You're on.
I was only going to suggest then perhaps I'll go back to Councillor Smitheram, because he carried out a site visit, I think this morning or yesterday, and was saying yes, that the cars that were blocking everything on Friday, it was were people further down the road, and they actually came along and unparked their cars and drove off, but that it wasn't even the houses that were in that bay. It was actually further down the road. But I do think because it's so narrow, and I think they've only got one space for a car off because they're small ex-council properties, I think there's a difficulty with parking there. So personally, would there be time if this week I spoke with Councillor Smitheram and the couple of residents who live there to see if they could cope with double lines on one side, but it won't make any difference because we need to have nothing in that bay, both sides, because that's it's the size of a truck. So if anything's parked there, they can't get in, and it's just a nightmare. I understand what you're saying, Neil, though, that this sounds good, but it's so narrow that I think you'd have to have double yellow lines for both sides, and that mean no parking whatsoever.
Might I suggest...
Are they parking on both sides or just the one side?
One side, but you see, because what they've done is the big trucks are now going onto the grass verge, Steve, that's in the centre, and it's destroyed all the grass verge, and then it sort of comes back onto the road further up where these cars aren't parked. And all they were thinking of was if we could stop them parking, let's say 7 till 9 on a Friday morning, that might help. And that's the only reason. It's just totally destroyed the verges. But people aren't parking both sides, but nobody, to let a truck go around, it's really got to be clear.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there may be a few people who'd be up in arms over it because it stops them parking, but
they've asked us actually, Steve. They've actually contacted us saying, please do something.
Okay, if that's the case, if they're happy for us to go down that route, then I don't see why, as a minor thing. It's only when we have to start making things single yellow and start adding signs in. There'll be a requirement for half a dozen signs there, which is going to be
it wouldn't need it.
£1,500. So
it would only need 2 signs max. It's just short piece. Never mind. Is it possible, Chairman, to come back to Steve this week and give him the result of my inquiries?
What I was going to suggest was, as I understand from Stephen, it's easier to take something out than it is to put something in afterwards. So if we were to agree your double yellow lines and then you come back and say, no, you don't want them, that's easier to do than having to come back to the committee and say, well, we've agreed double yellow lines here. Is that not so, Stephen?
I mean, to me, it doesn't actually make any difference. It depends Nicola might be best to answer the procedure as such. If committee agrees that we can come back with another option similar to Councillor Kington's, then I think so long as the chairman and, well, in this case, vice chairman are in agreement with it, then I can't see a problem. But Nicola can correct me if I'm wrong.
As long as it doesn't hold up, I think, the advertising. I think that's the important thing, because I know I've got residents who are absolutely desperate for their work to be carried out. So
Agree.
Yeah.
So basically, are we saying we should go in for double yellow lines both sides? Is that what because that means no one can ever park there forever, can they? That's it.
No, that's what I'm saying is that
a bit worried.
If they can't park both sides, then the residents might get up in arms about it. They might, quite rightly want to park outside their houses, and a double yellow line is 24/7.
That's it.
But it doesn't require signing. That's the only thing. So it's an easy option to go for. But what I'm saying is that if we have to then put in signs, we are looking at something that is more expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure we've really got the finances to be doing that. So I think we have to be a bit careful about what we decide. I think if we're going to go down the route of the single yellow line, we might have to think about leaving that to the next review.
Yes, I think I'd rather do that, because if I suggest this goes forward, oh my goodness me, hell hath no fury. Anyway, I just think for now, forget it. I'll go back to Ian Dyer at the borough, and Councillor Smitheram and the member of the public who lives there, and just explain and say that the only way forward would be next spring into the next phase, and I might have to pay some money towards it, because we only get 7.5, but if I have to pay 1,000 or something towards it, so be it. I'd do it. But I can understand that.
If it's added on to the next review, if you're getting quick, then going forward, though, I can't predict how much money we're going to have, because obviously there was 6 months where there was basically no enforcement. So the actual surplus parking fund is probably going to be a lot lower next year. So again, we've got to be careful about what we can do in the next review. So just bear all those things in mind. But
I will.
Chairman, I'd probably be inclined to put it forward to next year's review.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Chairman, if Dan puts it forward now, it's for consultation, so she can always take it out if there are objections. Just a thought.
Well, that's sort of what I said, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you can do that, but if it's agreed to, then it's finding another £1,500 from somewhere.
Oh no,
That's the only thing I have to be careful of.
I was talking the double yellows.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I honestly believe in this case, I think there would be shock horror. It'd be like, what is it? Something a sledgehammer to crack a nut sort of thing, because it only happens when the dust cart comes on a Friday or whatever day, no other time. So I just think they'll have to let them be in consultation. If we have to put posts up, but there again, if we put posts up, the borough, the dust carts can't get round. So I'll talk with I don't want to put forward double yellow lines, because it would be, what it's like, is an explosion. So I think I'm going to go back. I'll do what has been suggested. I'll go back, talk to the councillor and the officer and the resident, and say that the only way forward is it costs a lot of money. The finance isn't there, but we could look at this in the spring and go forward from there. Let's just see. It isn't a huge time, and it's been going on for 6 months anyway. And I might have to pay somehow to reinstate the verge, I think, but never mind. I think I'd rather leave it than put in double yellow lines and create a lot of fuss that really isn't needed at the moment. Thanks very much indeed.
I think that's probably wise, because when we've looked at implementing yellow lines down there before,
God, do you remember?
We know the feedback that we've received, so it's probably the wisest thing to do, to be honest.
It was awful. Thanks, Steve. Thank you.
Can I just answer Councillor Muir's question from earlier about who put forward the proposal on Hazen Way?
You can.
It was a resident. Obviously, I can't give you any more details than that, but it was a resident.
Yeah, thank you. I've got a flashing light round Debbie Mansfield. Did you want to ask a question?
I was actually going to make a comment on the Gibraltar Crescent debate.
Yeah.
Oh.
That actually, and I speak as a local resident, that a lot of the parking problems in Gibraltar Crescent have been compounded by parking restrictions already put in place and displacement of vehicles from other places. And additionally, where residents might be parking in an area that is not outside their house, there are, because of the huge greens in that area, there are houses that can have no driveways at all. So that's got to be borne in mind. You've got people displaced from the station and other parking restrictions. You've got Epsom coaches round the corner and the schools. But all the parking restrictions may and may not stop those people,
Yeah.
but they also impact upon residents who can't actually park in those places anyway. And you've got at least two groups of people that I'm aware of that want, you know, totally different things. So it's a very complex mixture, and some of the measures that have been put in place have added to those and created new issues.
Can I speak, Chairman? Can I
yes.
speak? Yes. Well, Stephen will tell you it's been like a War and Peace job. On we put forward one. Don't forget, I put a letter out to every home. That's how detailed it was, telling them of the proposal, and it came back a bit of a split, not quite sure which way we were going. So we tried it for twice a day, an hour. Well, blow me down. Hell hath no fury. So that all kicked off. So then Stephen and I got together and we said, why not do it for 1 hour a day? We cannot carry on. The verges were destroyed by definitely the bus company and people going to the station. It was all carrying on. So I did the 1 hour, and lo and behold, very little response. Another letter went out, so everybody knew, and very little response. So the consultation on this road, Debbie, has been enormous, as in the past. It's going back 2 or 3 years now. So it's been done. That's why I'm loathed at the moment to go forward with anything, because I know that road inside out, because my friend lived on one of the greens there, and where there's no parking at all. So yes, I'm leaving it for now, because I really just think this is a difficult one. And it's like you say, you do one thing and it affects the other. And at the moment, I've had no complaints about the 1 hour a day, but I don't know about anything else. So that's why I said to Steve, I'm not really comfortable about going forward now and doing anything. So if that's all right with you guys, I think I'll rather leave it than to start another round of fights.
That's lovely. Thank you very much.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes.
Sorry. I can't remember, Jan, whether we had thought about a residence permit scheme there or not.
No. I've not gone forward with that. No.
Obviously, it's something that could be considered if there is not adequate off-street parking for the residents, and they're obviously having problems. But obviously, there is a cost associated with it. Financial cost for each resident for permits, etc. But it could be worth something, somebody investigating that and possibly getting together a petition if that is how they're inclined.
Yes, I think, Steve, how it all kicked off in the first place was a massive petition from the residents of that road asking for restrictions. It's extraordinary. I know what Debbie's saying, but it all kicked off because we had that. Then we had another one. So we had two petitions going on. I'm not sure. The only people that get in a situation are those on the green. When I go round where my friend used to live, there's a green where we didn't have any car parking. I've paid for Hard Virgin, I know, in lots of areas along that road. And many of the houses have got parking strike. Don't think this is a road with no parking. It is, but because we did have all the car parking from the coach company and all that, that made it worse. I don't know, Debbie. I mean, I'm very happy, Debbie, if you want to have a chat with me over the phone, and I can come round there and have a look again. But it was the residents who wanted this parking sorted out with no parking. So we'll have to find out. I think for now, leave it. Thank you.
I think if you two could get together, that would be good, and come with and ask Stephen what you want to do. So
yes,
but thank you.
Good.
Councillor King, did you want to say something, or did I? Is it over?
To me?
No?
No.
Yes, your light was flashing.
Yeah, that's right. I've turned it off.
All right. So I'm going to go through to the recommendations now. There are 5 recommendations. The first one is that the changes to parking restrictions and controls described in Annex 1 should be introduced, and we are including double yellow lines in Stoneleigh Park Road and Amberley Gardens, which I'm sure Councillor Kingston will clarify completely with Stephen Clavey. 2, that the committee contribute £13,000 funding towards the introduction of the proposals in Annex 1 from the 2019-2020 parking surplus. 3, that the County Council's intention is to make an order under the Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984 be advertised, and if no objections are maintained, the order be made. 4, that if objections are received, the Parking Strategy and Implementation Team Manager tries to resolve them. And 5, if there are unresolved objections in accordance with the County Council scheme of delegation, the Parking Strategy and Implementation Team Manager, in consultation with the Chairman, Vice Chairman of this committee and the County Councillor for the decisions, decides whether or not they should be acceded to, and therefore whether or not the order should be made with or without modifications. Is there anybody that is not agreed to this recommendation?
Chairman,
yes.
So there was also on Cunliffe Road the agreement that I would meet on site or somehow with Steve Clavey just to see what proposal will go in there to meet the requirements of the bus company.
Yes,
I'm sure Nicola can put that into the correct words. I'm
sure. If everybody's happy with that inclusion, so we've got 3 inclusions now plus the recommendations. Is there anybody who does not agree? I haven't heard from anybody, so I will accept that the committee is unanimous, and thank Stephen Clavey for his incredibly hard work, because it must be a nightmare trying to sort all this out, particularly as you can't actually come here at the moment and walk the streets, so to speak. So thank you ever so much, Stephen.
I can walk the streets, I just can't. I just have to have a 2-metre pointy stick with me.
All right. Okay. So I'm sure you're not going to stay for the rest of the meeting. You're going to go and get a nice cup of tea. So may I wish you a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much, and you too, Chairman.
Yeah.
And the rest of you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Steve.
Bye.
Now, just give me a minute. Where am I up to? Parking reviews done. Highways update now. 0.9. And I'm going to ask Nick Healy if he could come in, please. Oh, Jan, have you put your hand up?
Yes, no, I was only going to say, because I've only just got this new machine and nothing has been transferred from the borough, I would have liked to have had a hard copy of all of these parking plans, because I've got nothing, so I'm agreeing it blind, if you get my drift. But if I could be sent a hard copy, then I can deal with it. But at the moment, I've got nothing on this machine showing anything at all like that. It's all just a few days I've had this. So if they could do that, that would be really good. And I trust Steve to have put through things I've asked for, and I'm hoping that's right. Thank you.
Thank you. Would that be all right, Nicola?
You should be able to see all the papers on your borough iPad through the ModGov app in the same way you were before, or they're on the County Council website.
On the County Council website? Oh, well, I don't know.
Available through ModGov.
I can't open my iPad. That's the end of it. So,
well, you should be able to see it on your laptop then, if your iPad's not working.
On this one? Oh, yes. Well, I'll try. I'll talk to you later. Thanks.
I'll send you the link to the information, because none of us are in an office to print things at the moment.
Okay, radio. I'll have a look. Thanks.
All right, Nick Healy, could I ask you, please, welcome you to the committee again, and ask you if you could just talk to us about the highways update.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Chairman. Right. There's not very much to say, actually. The report, I think, should be self-explanatory. I would be delighted to take questions, and I do apologise because I seem to be very much in shadow. So I will take shadowy questions, Chairman.
Right. Does anybody have any shadowy questions for Nick Healy? Or are you all happy with the proposal that he has put forward? Councillor Kingston, are you flashing? If you'll pardon me.
You're muted, Eva.
You're muted, Eva. You're muted.
Yes, indeed. I'm just trying to get back on the agenda because sometimes it disappears. The highways update, it's got in there the figures for, sorry, I'll have another go. Yeah, the figures for the funding, am I right in thinking that this year, sorry, I'm trying to, this year we've had 254,000 pounds, and next year we're going to get 193,100. That's the proposal. Is that how I'm reading it?
Chairman, do you want me to respond to that?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
That is the case at the moment, Eva, and the 193 figure is taken from the medium-term financial plan, which the council has. In the current financial year, by rights, we should have had 193 as well, but relatively at the last minute, the Cabinet decided to give the local and joint committees a capital boost, and so we ended up with 254.
Right. So, okay, in which case it's therefore disappointing that actually it's gone down since last year. I mean, I'm not asking the officer to make a comment on that, but I'm making a comment.
I couldn't possibly, Eva.
No, indeed. Okay. In which case, then I have a motion which I'd like to table, and I have a seconder with Councillor Neil Dallon, and the officers have that, a copy of that, which they would hopefully put up.
Nicola, if you're not able to put that up, then I can probably display it at this end.
I was hoping Rowena had it to hand, but I can put it up if it's not ready.
Sorry, Nicola, it's not sharing for me. I'll try again.
Let me see if I can do it.
We're listening to your mouse clicks with bated breath, Nicola.
Can you see that?
Yes.
So basically what I'm asking the local committee to do is to make a note that actually we had 254.5 last year. It's now reduced, and that equates to 25% less than we had last time. And also, of course, there's this continuing problem that we have is that Surrey County Council doesn't allocate the local funding according to road usage, but geography, or indeed some been working out the number of councillors, which is odd. So I'm proposing that we send a motion, or whatever I'd like to recall it, to the Cabinet member for Highways, expressing our disappointment of the cut, and ask them to change their mind on it.
Can I ask, Nick, did you say that we were planning to do the same as last year, but that we, at the last minute, they gave us extra money?
Sorry, there's a lot of feedback. Sorry, I can't hear you.
I can't hear either, I'm afraid.
Somebody's got dogs in the background. Is it not so that we have exactly the same money as last year, but at the last minute we were given extra money? And is it therefore not possible that the same thing would happen this year? But in fact, we haven't had a decrease. We were just lucky enough to have an increase last year. Is that what? Did we not agree the 193,000 last year, or did we agree the 254,000 last year?
We initially made plans based on 193, and then at the last minute the Cabinet decided to give the local and joint committee some additional capital. You ask whether it is possible that the same might happen again, Tina. Anything is possible in politics, as you well know.
But isn't it therefore incorrect to say that there's been a cut?
It is.
We agreed exactly the same thing last year, and we were lucky enough, because we put forward a good case, to get more money.
I need to tread very carefully here. The local committee in Epsom, as has been mentioned in public before, has been on a decreasing trajectory in terms of its budget for the last few years. That decreasing trajectory was arrested to an extent last year, and so we had 254,000 going into next financial year. Whichever way you look at it, the residents who benefit from this money are going to have less money to be invested in Epsom and Ewell than they do in the current financial year. Now, the residents, I don't suppose, really are that bothered as to the fine detail of exactly where the money comes from and who made what decisions where. The long and the short of it is there'll be less money next year than there is this year, unless a similar decision is made to boost the amount again.
And is this appropriate for this meeting? Surely this is something that should have come to full council at county rather than here. I mean, we can all...
I don't know the answer to that, I'm afraid.
We could have a motion to say that we would like to have the same amount of money as they gave us last year, but I'm very worried that this is not actually a cut. I know it's quibbling, and don't get me wrong, I would love to have the £254,500 so that a lot of my roads could be, but I'm not quite sure that this is legally accurate, because it's not. If we agreed the 193,000 last year, we have not had a cut. It's just last year we had a bonus. And that's all I'm concerned about, the actual wording of this motion, because I don't believe it to be legally accurate. And I think that before it's passed, it should have gone before a legal committee to decide whether the wording is accurate. And that is my only concern. So I don't feel that this should go ahead, because I don't see how we can say that we ended up okay, and we don't know yet what we're going to end up with 21-22. Maybe they'll give us extra money, but we didn't agree the extra money at the meeting last year. So I'm not happy that the wording is accurate.
Chair, may I interject? Put my hand up. I understand what you're saying, but could we not...
Sorry, who is it who's speaking, please?
This is Nigel Collins, Chair. Sorry. I had my hand up here. I'm just thinking we could solve this problem by substituting a proposed cut.
We have reduction. Reduction would be absolutely accurate, but it's not really cut.
No, but is it not possible now to change the wording and operate on that basis, is what I'm suggesting?
Well, I'm personally, I would be quite happy with the reduction, but I'm just not happy with the word cut.
I leave it to Mr. Kington, Councillor Kington, to sort out whether he's happy or not. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, I have to be called.
Yes, Councillor.
I have proposed a motion which I am entitled to do, and we've had this before when I put down a motion that the chairman doesn't like. You cannot change my motion unless you wish to put an amendment down. I have put down a motion which I'm allowed to do. I have given my reasons for it, that last year we had £254,500 and it's now what it is now. And I wish to put that, if you want a debate, rather than just to talk at us, let's have the debate. Otherwise, I would like to put this to the vote, which I'm entitled to do. It is a perfectly legal motion, and I think you should stop trying to stop people putting motions down because you don't like the content.
I didn't say, Councillor Kington, and please, yet again, don't switch my words. I'm perfectly happy that we are not going to have the 254,000. I wish we were. I'm just saying you're saying it's a cut, and legally at the meeting last year we agreed the 193,000. The £193,000 has not been cut, and that is my concern. I would like to hear other people's views. Would anybody like to speak on this matter?
Yes, please, Chair. Neil Dallon,
Thank you.
seconding the motion. The report that we've got in front of us states quite clearly allocations of budgets on table 1 are 254,500. So, understanding, looking at the reports that we've got, is this is a cut. The only thing I think to Eva's permission is if I put my maths on, 61,400, not 60,900.
60,900. Yeah.
Yeah, I apologies. I did do my maths after 61,400. It should be. Yeah, you are right.
And I fully second this motion. And
I would accept that amendment.
Thank you.
Debbie Mansfield, you would like to say something?
Firstly, I have been raising my hand and putting messages in, and I've not been called. But aside from that, I was going to say the same about maybe using the word reduction, but it is actually a cut. It's a cut from the amount that we received last year.
Okay. Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Muir. Councillor Muir? We can't hear you, Bernie.
Hang on. Can you hear me now? Because
I can.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say the same as Debbie about using the word reduction.
I think that reduction is absolutely accurate. I'm not happy about reduction because, of course, we want the maximum we can have in Epsom. I'm just quite worried about the legality of the word cut, but I'm quite sure the legal team will look into it should this motion go ahead. But I would prefer the word reduction, which in fact is what it is.
Someone wants to, Chairman, if someone wants to propose an alternative wording and they have a seconder, then you can vote on that.
Well, I would like that there is a cut.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak?
Yes, I've got my hand up.
Okay, Jan.
Yes, I can hear a lot of background noise somewhere. Yes, I can understand, and I do actually very much appreciate that Eva's put this forward, because I think, as we've said, and Nick intimated earlier, this has been going on for years, year after year. It's good old Epsom and Ewell. I don't care whether it's Labour, Conservative, whoever runs. It doesn't matter. Every year we've had reductions, and every year, and all of you who live in, like me, by Ruxley Lane, the traffic has got horrendous. So I don't care about, it's the length of the road. That is the wrong way to deal with this. It should be the usage, and in our case, heavy usage, that should determine the budget for us. But no, all we ever get is, you're a small borough with a few miles of roads, so that's it. And I just think somewhere we've got to stand up again and say, no, we don't accept this, because I know what happens in Ruxley Lane and Chessington Road, where the queues are enormous, and I'm sure they're everywhere in this borough. So I feel that the intent is right for this proposal. I am not say bothered, that isn't the right word, but I don't care whether it really is a cut or a reduction. The bottom line is we ain't getting what we should get, and therefore I want more, and I think we should be putting our marker in the sand, Chairman. I don't like to be rude with things, but I do think at the end of the day this was probably a very good proposal by Councillor Kington, but I do feel I will go with whatever, but I still want it all there, other than the word perhaps cut. If they want to change it to reduction, then I would accept that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak?
There's a few people with hands up, but I'm not sure if they've already spoken or they want to speak again.
Debbie Mansfield, do you wish to speak again?
Yes. When I thank you, Chair. When I said about changing the word to reduction, I say that for my concerns in the sense of the powers that be, or those that view it, could actually say, oh, well, you were actually allocated this much money, then you've got a bonus, therefore it's not a cut. I think, although I would absolutely state that it is a cut, I think that reduction is, use of the word reduction doesn't allow that to happen, and doesn't allow anyone to get around it on the account that it's not cut from the original amount that was allocated. That's my reason for putting forward that as a word. I don't actually care one way or the other. The meaning is the same, but I just don't want to allow too much leeway, and I think that maybe pins it down a little bit more.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Kington, but before you come back, Eva, is there anybody else who wishes to speak, please? Okay, do you wish to speak again then, Eva?
Thank you very much. The motion I put down there is the motion I wish to continue to have down there. We had a sum of money which is now £61,400 less. It's a cut. I think it's quite interesting that the debate has not been about whether, in fact, this is going to affect the residents and it's going to affect the quality of the service and the repairs. It's been about a word in a document. And I think that's the way those who don't want this to be down, apologies, my phone's going. It's the way that the people who don't want to discuss the issue, which is another cut to the budget, are actually turning it into a debate about words. Because it's an important issue, the funding of the local highway budget, and because it continues to go down, we need to be saying to the cabinet member, this is not good enough, and it's not only not good enough to in terms of the amount we get, but it's also not good enough in terms of the way it is distributed. So I ask all members of this committee, please stick with the wording. The wording obviously upsets someone, and it may well be by upsetting some people at Surrey County Council, we might get them to change their minds. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Muir, did you want to speak again?
I think the reason that we are focusing on a particular word is because we are serious about wanting the outcome that Council actually wants. The reason we haven't raised the other matters in the motion is because I think I'm anticipating probably that we're all in agreement with it. That's why we're silent on that. But as Councillor Monksfield said, and I don't agree if we put in a word that ultimately can be argued against, that's furthering our cause. The fact is, I imagine everybody around the table wants that's the same outcome. To achieve that, we need to do it in the optimum way. And I personally would happily vote for this motion, but I actually want it to achieve what we all want it to achieve. And I think by changing that one word, as Councillor Mansfield said, we don't open ourselves up to all sorts of things. And that's my bottom line on this.
I absolutely agree. Thank you. I think we do want to get more money for Epsom, and there's nothing political about it. It's a case of we want to get more money for the area in which we live. And I'm concerned that the word cut is actually legal or not legal. That is my only reason for asking for it to be reduced. Not because, Councillor Kington, I don't want our residents to get the best service ever. So I'm going, unless anybody else wishes to speak, Does anybody please make yourself known? There's lots of hands up, but I think everybody that's got their hands up has actually spoken now. So I'm
Chairman,
yes.
I have put my hand up again. It's difficult. If people put their hands down when they finish speaking, it would help. I have the same concern if we change cut to reduction, that it's still a problem because you're implying that the reduction was from the budget. In fact, I would prefer the word cut to stay for that reason. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else wish to speak? Could you please take your hands down if you don't wish to speak? Because I've got 4 hands in front of me at the moment. Councillor Kington, did you want to speak again? No?
Apologies, no thanks.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak? Nicola, which should I put forward first? The change of the word or the actual motion, please?
I think if we vote on the amendment first, and then if that is disagreed, then you could then go to the substantial motion, which was Eva's first one. Sorry, my phone's ringing.
Do you think we ought to do a named vote on this?
I suppose that might be best if...
Then we're accurate, aren't we? Might be accused of doing something wrong. So we're going to have a named vote on whether we simply cut the word cut and put reduction, a budget reduction of 61,000. I think we will find we're all in agreement on the rest of the motion. So could I please ask each person in turn, personally, as chairman, I would like the word reduction. Councillor Kingston, you said you want the word cut. Is that so?
Sorry, what we're voting? Can you say whether we're voting for or against? I don't understand where you're leading on this, please.
I'll explain it again. I think we are voting to start with, I know we're voting to start with, as to whether we remove the word cut and put in reduction.
Yes, I understood that. So what is the word we have to say? If we want reduction, we say agree, because
Yes.
that's the motion.
I'm putting forward the revised motion that we would like the word cut removed and put reduction in its place.
Yes.
I have voted in favour of doing this. How do you vote, please?
So are you asking people to say agree or not and not agree?
Please say whether you agree or not agree.
I say not agree.
Thank you. Councillor Beckett.
Not agree.
You agree?
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Can you repeat that, please?
I didn't hear agree or not agree.
I do not agree.
So, Chairman, because of the difficulty, could we not just have for or against? Because it's quite difficult to hear what people are saying. If they are supporting you, it is for, and if they are not supporting you and agreeing with me, it is against. That's probably easier.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Mason. Are you for or against?
You're muted, Jan.
Yes, I said against.
Okay. Now we've had the 5 county councillors. Councillor Dannon.
Hang on, you haven't had me yet.
No,
I'm so sorry. Are you for or against?
I'm for the amendment.
Councillor Dannon.
Against.
Councillor Collins. Councillor Collins.
For.
I can't hear you.
For.
You. Councillor Monk. Councillor Monksfield.
Against.
Councillor, did count the other councillor Sorry.
Steve Bridger, you're missing.
Oh, Steve Bridger, are you for or against?
I'm against.
And there was a substitute against Councillor Coley. I can't remember his name. Did he come in?
He's not here, no.
Oh, he didn't. Right. Okay.
So that amendment has been lost. So if we can now move to Eva's original motion and vote on that again.
Move on the original motion. So, as chairman, I abstain. Councillor Kingston.
For.
Councillor Muir. Councillor Muir, we can't hear you.
For.
Councillor Beckett.
For.
Councillor Mason.
For.
Councillor Dallin.
For.
Councillor Monkfield.
For.
Councillor Collins.
For.
Councillor Bridger.
For.
Okay, this motion has been passed and will be sent to the chairman for funding. The rest of the highways update. Does anybody wish to make any comments on it? I haven't seen
Collins got his hand up.
Colin. Councillor Colin. Nigel.
Sorry, Chair, I don't have any comment.
You don't have a comment. Okay. So shall we go to the
Councillor Muir as well.
Sorry, Councillor Muir.
Is it possible to have further clarity on the East Street? Or is it not appropriate at this point?
No, that's fine. Nick Healy, could you please respond?
Do you mean the East Street lay-by scheme?
Well, yeah, and the possibly resurfacing as well, and all the other things, the cycleway and everything.
Okay, I need to ask Nicola a question of protocol, therefore. So, Nicola, my report doesn't...
That's why I was asking if it's appropriate or not, yeah.
Yes, and I don't know the answer to whether it's appropriate or not. So, Nicola, given that my report doesn't cover those matters, is it appropriate for me to answer this question?
It should only be questions in relation to the report. I think the lay-by bit's part of your report, isn't it? But probably not the other bit.
No, I don't think it is.
Oh, is it not? Sorry.
No, it isn't. And unless it's on the tracker. Is it on the tracker, Nicola? We could answer the question then.
It is on the tracker.
I don't want to be awkward, Bernie, but...
No, I thought it might be stretching the envelope. So, yeah, let's do it on the tracker then.
Right. I've got to go back to the menu. So, are there any other questions, please? Councillor Muir, can you put your hand down? So, the recommendations, I haven't seen anybody else wanting to ask a question. Please shout if you do. The local committee at Epsom and Ewell is asked to approve the proposed allocation of the 21-22 highways budget as set out in Table 3. Do we have to add something bearing in mind the motion that has been passed? Nicola?
No, that's separate, so you can just carry on with the recommendations.
Defer a scheme to improve pedestrian crossing facilities on Cheam Road at its junction with Bramley Road. Approve the commissioning of 3 new feasibility studies to start in April 2021 as set out in Table 4 to be funded from Committee's 21-22 capital allocation, and authorise the area highway manager in consultation with the chairman, vice chairman and relevant divisional member to undertake all necessary procedures to deliver the agreed programme. Are we all agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Is there anybody
Agreed.
not? Then we unanimously agreed. Thank you. Now we go to the decision tracker. Colin. There we are. Excuse me, I've just got to pull it up. And now, could we agree to remove those items marked as closed? Can we agree on that, please?
Agreed.
Thank you. And do we have any questions on
Agreed.
others? Thank you. Do we have any questions on any of the other?
Sorry, Chair, I couldn't get in. I did ask to speak. I don't agree.
Oh, okay.
Point number one.
Can I ask what you don't agree? Oh, sorry, we are on the right one, the decision tracker, aren't we?
It is the decision tracker, reference number 1.
Yep.
Implement the street lighting improvements underneath the railway bridge in Waterloo Road. I'm not sure if it's that one or number 4 or both, but the pavement and the road crossing is not complete to my satisfaction. I thought any highway engineer's satisfaction as well. So I'm not happy that it's
Number 1 just deals with, is it not? Nick Healy, have we not finished that? Nick, could you respond, please?
Sorry, Chairman, I was trying to find the right button. The street lighting improvements have been completed, but Neil is absolutely right that there is a snagging issue at the entrance to Horsley Close, which is still outstanding. And so committee, if it wished, could mark the street lighting item as closed, but make a note in the tracker that there is a drainage snag that still needs to be addressed, so that we don't lose sight of that issue, if that would satisfy Neil.
I think that's I think that's already in the tracker.
Is it?
Number 4.
Number 4.
Yeah,
Which is marked as being as in progress.
Sorry, Chair, I'm not happy because it's not just the crossing at Horsley Close that's wrong and flooding. There's also drainage problems on the pavement, the tarmac itself, going down from the station to Horsley Close, which is where the lighting, I think, has been put in, and the whole pavement was resurfaced. It's got puddles all over it. It's abysmal work.
Okay. Well, I need to send you out with a brush, Neil, and sweep all the water into the road.
I would willingly do that, but when it rains, it all comes back again.
Okay, can we put that on the action tracker then, Nicola, for Neil to do some sweeping?
The tracker doesn't specifically refer to Hazen Way. It says area highway manager to investigate the works recently carried out in Waterloo Road to see if it's been completed satisfactorily, as there appear to be a number of puddles around the work area, and it's being marked as in progress. Officers are working on the solution, so that seems to cover the points you're raising.
As long as it includes the stretch from the station down to Horsley Close, I'm happy.
Make a note of it.
Could we include that in number 4 then, please, Nicola? And we'll lose number 1, but we'll include that in number 4 because it's silly having 2 going at the same time on the same areas.
Yes, I can add some extra into that.
Thank you.
Are you happy with that, Neil?
Yes, thank you.
No. Anybody else want to speak? No? Good. Anything else that they want to talk about to do with this tracker?
Yes, please, Chair. Sorry. Number 6, where we agreed that we would meet. I note it also says appropriate officers. Before the beginning of this meeting, we agreed a date and time. Should we invite officers as well?
Absolutely. We agreed. We agreed. Sorry, there's something going on. Terrible, isn't it? It's not outside interference sometimes. Councillor Dallin and I agreed to meet on Monday the 14th at 2 o'clock outside St Joseph's School in Rosebushes, and I would ask that
Rosebank, Chair. Rosebank.
I do beg your pardon, I can't read my own writing. Outside Rosebank. So, Nick, do you think you'll be able to make that meeting?
Sorry, what time is it, Chairman?
2 o'clock, but it's flexible, so if you can't make that time.
2 o'clock.
On the 14th.
2 o'clock would be a bit of a stretch. I could potentially do. Let's have a think. I could probably arrive in Epsom sometime between 2:30 and 2:45, and then we would catch the afternoon pickup for Joy.
Shall we make it 2:45 then, Chair?
We can. Will we not find it rather difficult to park? Because isn't that the big problem in Rosebank?
What I would suggest is parking somewhat remotely from the school and walking there so that you don't actually disrupt it anyway. Because otherwise, if you actually park in Rosebank, you are influencing the situation as well as observing it.
Oh, right.
I'm happy to walk, Chair.
Yeah. I'll cycle, so I'll see you there at 2:45 then.
2:45. And do we want to meet outside the school gates?
Yes, I think so.
Absolutely.
Right. Anybody else want to make comment? If not, could we agree the tracker?
Nigel, Colin and Bernie Muir have got their hands up. I'm not sure if that's from a previous request or not.
Bernie, do you want to ask a question?
No, actually, it's been answered. So
good. And Nigel Collins.
Thank you, Chair. Not again. No, I'm fine.
Okay. Then, does anybody disagree with the action tracker? Right. So I therefore accept that we are. Okay. Good. Next item. Forward plan. Right. The forward plan is the dates for the next committee. Did I see to be confirmed, Nicola, on the 22nd of March 2021?
Well, it's a provisional. The date is kind of in the diary. It's more around the timing because we're not sure at the moment whether we'll still be meeting virtually or back in a meeting room by then. So.
Yeah, okay, well, that is the date then for the next meeting, and we'll all be notified as to where we will be meeting, whether in person or again on Zoom. Decision tracker and review forward programme. I would suggest that anybody who would like discussion at informal meeting contact Nicola so that it can be put forward to our next informal meeting. And Nigel, you've got your hand up. Have you finished? Okay. If that is all, unless anybody else has anything to say whatsoever, I will now close this meeting and wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. Some people I will not see before Christmas, others I'm quite sure I will see tomorrow when we have full county council. So this meeting is finished. Thank you.
Yeah, happy Christmas. Thank you.